Joining me now is our friend California Congressman Robert Garcia. He, of course, a member of the Oversight and Transportation and Infrastructure Committees. Congressman, welcome back to the show. I'm going to ask you about what we just played, that soundbite with Vance and everything that's happening in L.A. But I did want to get your reaction to Mahmoud Khalil being released after 104 days being detained by ICE and DHS. He was in Jena, Louisiana. He, of course, to remind our viewers once again, the first pro-Palestinian campus protester detained by the Trump administration while incarcerated. He missed the birth of his first child. He wasn't able to graduate with his class at Columbia University. But he's out now. Give me your sense of just how you see where things stand with him right now. And do you worry he might be brought back into detention given the fact that the Trump administration appealed his release?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think first, obviously, the courts did the absolute right thing here. This is what's really, I think, scary about this moment is that folks are getting arrested, are getting scooped up, whether they're students, whether they're exercising their freedom of speech, and they are being then potentially put into some types of trials, these appeals processes that are unfair and they're unjust. He never should have been detained. People have a right to speak out on whatever topic that's literally in our Constitution. And so I think people are certainly breathing a sigh of relief here in this case, but we should still be concerned in this country that this could be happening and has happened to other people. And it's not, we know, just students. It's workers. It's people that are undocumented. It's U.S. citizens that are being arrested, as we know, across this country. And so I think we'll see where this ends up, but I think most folks right now are feeling grateful for the court's decision.
All right. And to your point, we're going to move to Vance, who accused L.A. Mayor Karen Bass, California Governor Gavin Newsom, of encouraging threats to law enforcement officers, which seems pretty absurd, frankly. But he also took a shot at Senator Alex Padilla, whom he referred to as Jose, accusing him of engaging in political theater. Vance was referring to Padilla being forced to the ground by federal agents after he tried to ask a question of DHS Secretary Kristi Noem. It was at her press conference last week. What's your response to Vance's remarks? I know I chimed in with mine, but I do find it ludicrous to think that anybody in a position of authority and leadership in the state of California would say, oh, yeah, let's bring on the protests. Let's have a lot of crime and mayhem.
Yeah, I mean, first, look, the vice president, I mean, how petty and just beneath his office to essentially not name Alex Padilla. And he knows him. They were in the Senate for a couple of years. And to say that and then make fun of it, I think is just really beneath him. And at the same time, he's out here just causing more issues. First, he was down here for a fundraiser, to be very clear. And then he comes out here, the vice president, to essentially provide misinformation to the public, not support any of the efforts on the ground, and essentially tell lies. I mean, we know that there were no major threats or issues to these federal buildings. We know that, yes, there were some protests that Long Beach, LA, the sheriffs, all of them were actually dealing with in a way that actually was safe. And bringing in Marines, bringing in the National Guard only exasperates the issue. What we've said from day one is this. If there are people that are in this country, and we know this to be true, and they're causing serious crimes, then of course we don't want them here and they shouldn't be here in the U.S. But that's actually not what's happening. Innocent people are getting swept up. We have U.S. citizens here in our own community that have been detained, arrested, and sent to detention centers after telling ICE agents that they are here and that they are citizens of the United States. In some cases, we even have, as you know, Alex, U.S. citizen children deported from our country. And so what the vice president did here essentially is make matters worse. He's not helping anything. And now he's insulting our governor, our U.S. Senator, Mayor Bass, and is putting out an enormous amount of misinformation. We're glad he's left essentially Los Angeles. Everything here is under control.
Let me ask you about those centers, because the DHS is limiting lawmakers' access to immigration detention facilities. Members of Congress must now give 72 hours notice of a visit. ICE can deny or cancel a visit under certain circumstances. Does this violate Congress's right to conduct oversight? I mean, might the lead time then allow ICE to try to improve conditions at facilities ahead of any inspection?
The law is clear first. The law is crystal clear that members of Congress can visit these sites, these detention centers, these ICE processing centers at any time with no notice. Secretary Noem herself has seen this statute in the law. She's actually discussed it in the past. So all this is an attempt by Homeland Security and others to limit oversight from members of Congress. It's illegal, to be clear, and this will have to eventually go to the courts. There's just no reason why members of Congress should not be allowed to visit these sites. What are they hiding? And we know for a fact that when some members have been there, I mean, Congresswoman Judy Chu recently, at a recent visit, she talked to some of the folks that were there. People are not being given their own rights to an attorney. Some folks are there mistakenly. Some people are being sent there as a mistake. And so to limit the authority and the oversight powers of Congress to actually do its oversight work is, again, another move by Donald Trump to amass more power and to hide more secrets.
I want to get in one more question to you, and this one being on the Republicans' big mega spending bill, which is facing some major headwinds in the Senate. A policy bill released this week cuts billions of dollars more from Medicaid than the House version. It does so by limiting a tax loophole that states use to collect federal matching funds for Medicaid. So many Republicans call this provider tax a scam or a gimmick. But for decades, that money has contributed to states paying their Medicaid bills. What are the repercussions if this bill passes with the Senate limits?
I mean, this is a horrific piece of legislation that is a massive wealth transfer from working class people to billionaires and large corporations. Let's be clear. We already know that the House version of the bill, you have essentially millions of people, 16 million people could lose their health care. The Senate bill, which is now being, of course, debated and discussed, is worse. More people can lose health care. And I think what you're discussing speaks directly also to the access for people to have to clinics and hospitals. What the Senate provisions are looking at, and what they're trying to do, is essentially create more opportunities for billionaires to get larger tax cuts and to take more from hospitals, from clinics, from healthcare providers. And this especially will be true as it relates to rural health centers. And so it was impossible to see a worse bill coming out of the Senate, but they're actually doing it. This Senate bill will even make healthcare in this country even worse, and we must all oppose it. There are some senators that are very concerned about these provisions, and we've got to continue to push.